why are so many people? Why was Hitler fascinated with Antarctica? Why were so many people? He moved 4,000 people to work over there, and the U.S. started panicking, saying, wait a minute, we got to go there. And then we all negotiated together to make sure everybody had some kind of influence. Did they learn something that they didn't want to tell the rest of us? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
I'm going to have to confess.
Send a secret expedition to Antarctica and hunt. Okay, so
margarine fat.
Yeah, there was a big fascination with what was there. So let's talk about another thing. So, Atlantis. When you say Atlantis to the average person, they'll say beautiful resort. Bahamas or Dubai. Yeah. But when you say Atlantis to someone like you, you think a complete different thing, right? Here's a couple images that you'll see, and videos we'll see, and what existed. So civilization with all these times, how many, based on what you know, what you've read, are you in the school of thought that we existed and a lot of the current technologies, maybe even more advanced we had before, and then we either destroyed ourselves or we had something that hit us and we have to restart again? Where are you at with that?
Well, I'm of the mind that we need to consider that as a realistic possibility, because think about it. We come from basically feudalism, subsistence farming, hunting-gathering, all within the last 300 years to a millennium. Look how fast we've progressed since the scientific enlightenment. I make the point sometimes that when my grandparents were born in the 1890s, the primary mode of transportation around the planet was horseback, horse-covered wagons, mule, foot. Now, we had trains. Yeah, we've had trains since actually around the time of the Civil War. But, Civil War, what are we looking at? We're looking at less than 2 centuries ago. Now, if you look at how far we've progressed in the last 300 years, since the time of Newton and Galileo and Kepler and all of those guys, and the founding of modern science. Now we consider, I use the more conservative based on hard skeletal evidence of how long have modern humans been on the planet. And basically, I think what I'm seeing now is evidence, skeletal remains, hard evidence, 175 to 200,000 years old, that appears to belong to, for all intents and purposes, modern humans, which would imply similar levels of intelligence. Now, I think if you work it out, the numbers on it, and I should have brought my calculator in, but if you work out 200,000 years, there we go. Suggests modern humans were in Europe more than 200,000. Now, this is recent research, right? So 200,000 years, that works out to be about 7,000 generations, I think. Now, how easily could a millennia of human progress get lost in the noise of 200,000 years? Now, one of the things that I came prepared to show you today, that the legends of gigantic world-destroying floods are based on real events that we can now prove overwhelmingly, right? I'm about to lead an expedition, a tour in September, to show people some of the landscapes that are created by what I would call biblical scale floods up in the Pacific Northwest. You might want to think about coming on one of the future tours, because it'll blow your mind when you spend a week out looking at these landscapes. And you'll come away just like that epiphany I had looking over the Minnesota River Valley. Except this now is like that times 1,000, because I concentrate. We go to specific places within where these gigantic floods have sculpted the landscape, and I teach people how to decipher the landscape, showing how these cataclysmos, Greek term for world-destroying floods, from which we get the world. Yeah, there we go. So if you look down there, the brown that forms the border between Oregon and Washington, we're going to be exploring in that area in there through the Cascade Mountain Range, because that brown that you see is the pathway of the melting floodwaters from the ice sheets out to the Pacific Ocean. And those flood discharges, peak discharges, you're looking at somewhere between peak discharges 700 million to a billion cubic feet per second. Now, how do you even picture something like that? Well, it's on such a scale, grand scale, that you can't really until you've spent a week. Now, what I do is I put together a program, and in my slides, I've got samples of what I show people prior to going out in the field. And I teach them about, I call it the hidden cipher of the landscape, because it's on such a huge scale that most people don't even know it's there. And then what I do is I say, it's like learning a new language. And what I'm going to do is we're going to a foreign country where everything is in this language you don't understand. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to teach you the rudiments of that language, and then we're going to go to that foreign country, and you're going to be able to read. Only in this case, the cipher, the alphabet, the story is engraved into the planetary surface. And it's been laying there for 10, 12, 14,000 years because nobody had the perspective to decipher it until now. Basically, and then I say that's a pretty grandiose statement to make. But give me a week, 2 weeks, and I will instruct you in that language, and we will go into the field, and I will show you the after effects of biblical scale floods that have swept over the earth. Now, how do you explain that? Well, I believe that the evidence shows that the great ice sheets, that there was a multi-impact event at the end of the last ice age. That's what destroyed the ice sheet. It also probably plunged into the ocean. Plunging into the ocean is going to inject, just like Hunga Tunga Hunga, it's going to inject gigantic amounts, except way beyond Hunga Tunga Hunga, is going to inject that water vapor into the atmosphere, upper stratosphere. It's going to encircle the planet, and it's going to rain out with these hellacious rainfalls that could take weeks to rain out. And I can show you, if we want to go to the slides while we got some time left, go right up to the beginning. Go to the top there, Rob. And, okay, there's one of my favorite quotes. Go to the title slide. Okay, go to play. Okay, I call this the big picture, understanding the true measure of global change. So we'll scan through a few things. Love this quote, historian Will Durant, one of the great historians of civilization. After writing 11 volumes, this was his conclusion. Civilization exists by geological consent, subject to change without notice.
That's the part. So to me, when we're talking extinction, the key words in that quote is what? Without notice.
Yeah, without notice.
If it's going to happen.
In these uncertain times, if there's anything we need people to believe the future looks bright. So if you've heard about me saying this mission to you, we're on a mission to get 1 million people to wear this gear. And this is what we're doing. If you buy one of these hats, there's a category of buying one hat, getting the second one free. If you haven't yet worn this gear publicly, go ahead and test it out. Buy some of the gear, wear it in public, and see how many people will stop by and say, you also watch Valuetainment? You also follow PBD Podcast? I do too. Place your order. Go to vtmerch.com, click on the link above or below, place your order, and represent the VT and the PBD Podcast gear.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.